It's my privilege to introduce a few speakers. Every year, we haven't had Volunteer Shabbat in a few years because of the pandemic, but now we're back. And I like to have speakers people who are volunteering and doing new things within the synagogue and leading our synagogue now. And that's the future of our synagogue and generations. So we have two wonderful speakers this morning. The first speaker is going to be Courtney Fishman, and she's going to talk about her experience and what it means to her about volunteering. And then after Courtney, we have Freiman, who is going to also tell us what volunteering and what she does for the synagogue and what it means to her. So, Courtney.
Shabbat Shalom. 5 years ago, I was asked to speak on this same occasion of Volunteer Shabbat. I spoke about what this synagogue has meant to my family for generations and how proud I was of the commitment my family, and in particular my papi and my dad, Earl and Michael Linden, have demonstrated to ensure the ongoing growth and well-being of B'nai Yeshurun. At the time of giving that speech, I was a new board member, hoping to somehow contribute to our synagogue in the same way as my family. I was also a full-time stay-at-home mom with 3 young children and a nearly solid streak of 6 years without a good night's sleep. I will admit that when I got the call that I had been nominated to join the board, I was apprehensive. I wasn't sure I had the time or the energy to meet the commitment in a meaningful way. And to be fully honest, I wasn't really sure that I possessed any skills or insights that would benefit our congregation. The key element of volunteerism is that it's a choice. When we accept a board nomination or join a committee, we choose to do so, sometimes when we aren't even sure how to make it work. But something drives us to say yes. For me, it was to honor my family's commitment in hopes to contribute to the future well-being and success of our congregation, and so that my children feel the same connection, pride, and sense of being home here that I do. To quote someone that Rabbi Hale has never mentioned before, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, yet today, he said, "Ask any volunteer and they will tell you that they gain more than they give. Volunteering helps change the world because it changes us." I still volunteer my time to B'nai Yeshurun for the reasons I initially did so. In fact, I think of my grandma and papi every single time I walk through the Linden courtyard into this building for a meeting or a program. However, I see more and more the ways in which volunteering has given to and changed me. My professional background is in social work, and it's a field in which I truly loved to work. It was challenging and fulfilling, and I could not see myself doing anything else. When my oldest son, Adam, was born, my husband, Rob, and I were living in New York with no family around to help, and the thought of trying to navigate the world of Manhattan nannies or daycare centers with wait lists filled with names of yet to even be born babies, frankly, made my head spin. So I chose not to return to the hospital at which I worked, and I started my next challenging and fulfilling role of raising a human being. And now we're raising 3 of them. I think many parents who don't have a paid job will tell you that finding fulfillment outside of their family role can sometimes feel elusive. Becoming an engaged community volunteer has truly provided that fulfillment. Whether it's dropping off mishloach manot to make congregants feel connected during a pandemic that had physically separated us, or brainstorming creative ideas for welcoming new members along with Shani and the membership committee, or co-leading a cohort for young parents so they can find meaningful connection to the synagogue and to each other, or supporting the president along with the officer team in how to manage a sudden and deeply impactful crisis within our shul community. I'm grateful for the fulfilling and meaningful roles I have found through volunteerism. Most recently, I found myself in the role of co-chairing the search for our next assistant rabbi, along with our newly installed president, Scott Matazar. This would be my first opportunity to lead a synagogue committee, and the task of identifying our next clergy member at such a transitional time in our synagogue's history felt like a daunting task. However, I cared deeply about finding the right person to help lead our community through this important point of inflection. It's true that leading a search committee takes a lot of time and energy. But once again, I came away from the process grateful for what it gave back to me. It was a privilege to work so closely with Rabbi Hal and our president, Rebecca Dorman, and to learn from their leadership. Throughout the search, our dedicated committee met with a large number of highly engaging, well-learned, and impressive conservative rabbinic candidates. It was a stimulating process and one that really inspired optimism in what the future of our movement is. And of course, I could not be more excited for the not one, but two standout young rabbis in Rabbi Josh Jacobs and Rabbi Alex Rosenbaum, who will join our synagogue in just a couple of months. It's impossible to quantify how much we will gain from our new clergy team of Rabbi Hal, Rabbi Jacobs, Cantor Rosenbaum, Rabbi Foster, and Rabbi Rosenbaum. But I can be sure it's much more than the efforts I gave to the search process. And reflecting on the 5 years that have passed since last I spoke on volunteerism at B'nai Ashurin, there is much for which I am grateful. That my kids can now finally sleep through the night is certainly among the top of the list. But mostly, I am grateful that I was motivated to say yes to that initial call. Life will always be busy, but it's true that you generally gain more than you give when you say yes. Thank you.
Now we have Lauren Freiman.
Shabbat Shalom. This morning, as my family and I walked into the sanctuary, we were greeted by Dan Umansky, Maury Greenstein, Harriet Mann, I think Paula, I haven't seen her, but she's usually here. Oh, there's Paula. And David Cohn, volunteers who are committed to making every person who enters this building feel at home each week. We listened to Faith Eisenberg, Ruth Dobris, Benji Brown, Debbie Ornstein, Rabbi Plotkin, and Rachel Berkowitz read Torah, and Linda Schoenberg read Torah and Haftorah, flanked by Bob Zelwin and Sue Nash. Soon, our kids, though strongly incented by the promise of licorice, will take their places on the bima to lead us in Ein Keloheinu. We might not agree on whether the temperature is too hot, too cold, or just right, but nonetheless, the House Committee has worked to create a plan for the aging systems and structures within this building. We will soon go to the atrium, where we will enjoy a kiddush, lovingly prepared by a large team of volunteers who are committed to feeding us week after week. It's truly a labor of love. During the week, a volunteer might answer your call in the front office, and someone in our congregational family will receive a chesed meal delivered to their doorstep, comfort tucked into a foil-covered aluminum pan. Throughout the school year, volunteer Hebrew tutors fill the building each Tuesday to teach our students one-on-one, building their skills and their relationships. I could go on, and this list is small compared to what's going on here. Men's Club, Sisterhood, Zoom moderators, our college outreach, inclusion, budget and finance, security, and social justice committees, our board, and our team of officers. Because every corner of this community is touched by people who generously and eagerly share their time, their ideas, and their talents to strengthen us. I am continually amazed by the number of people who feel a strong sense of ownership, pride, commitment to an investment in this community, and by the number of people working on so many projects, and by the number of people taking initiative by identifying a need, finding an opportunity, and jumping in to make it happen. We are 900 families strong, but there's a place for your ideas, your passions, and your contributions. There's a saying that you can't be everything to everybody, but the most beautiful part of our community is that it is something to everyone. Yasher koach to each of you for all you bring to our community. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Lauren and Courtney and Sue. Volunteer Shabbat is a very important moment for our congregation to recognize all those behind the scenes and in front who do so much, as each of you expressed so beautifully. I want to thank Sue, who worked alongside Cheney to put together a very special Shabbat to honor all those who do so much for us. The second half of our Torah reading this morning, Sue, you talked about Bahar beautifully, the idea of the sabbatical, actually the idea about stepping back in order for things to grow. I want to talk just a moment about the second portion, Bechukotai. The opening words of the second portion, Im Bechukotai Telechu. If you follow my ways, you will be blessed. And the word, not Bechukotai, but the third word, Telechu, is if you walk in the way, you will be blessed. On Volunteer Shabbat, we honor those who walk the walk, those who walk in the way, those who step up, those who dig into our congregation, dig deep, and those who move us forward through your hard work, through your labor, and through your love. Thank you. May we continue to be blessed, as Sue said, by the blossoming that's happening here, by your work. We are so grateful to you, and we can't do it without you. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.